The Dead Sea is disappearing at an alarming rate. Over 6,000 massive sinkholes, some of them 8 floors deep, have opened. The Dead Sea is drying up, gaping sinkholes appearing in its wake at an alarming rate. Live Science reports why dangerous sinkholes keep appearing along the Dead Sea by Tanya Lewis. For thousands of years, this salty, mineral-rich water of the Dead Sea has drawn visitors and health pilgrims to its shores, but recently gaping chasms have opened up without warning along its banks, and it poses a threat to visitors and tourism in general. This is, of course, as we know, nestled between Israel and the Palestinian territories to the west, and the Jordan in the east, and the Dead Sea is famous for its extreme salinity, 34%, almost 10 times as salty as the ocean, and for having the lowest elevation on Earth at 1,407 feet, or 429 meters below sea level. But for the past few decades, the sea has been shrinking rapidly, and it's due to the diversion of water from the Jordan River, which feeds into the Dead Sea, and mineral mining from its waters in the south. The water surface is currently receding at about 3 feet a year. This is according to Hanam Jinat, a geologist at the Dead Sea and Avara Research Center. It runs under the auspices of Israel's Ben Gurion University of Negev. As the briny water recedes, fresh groundwater wells up and dissolves layers of the salt and creates large underground cavities above which the sinkholes form. The holes can open up without warning, Ginat says. And he says we're looking for systems to forecast where they will be happening, but it's very complicated. The main reason for the Dead Sea's decline is diversion of water from the Jordan River, which used to provide about 450 billion gallons, that's 1.7 billion cubic meters, but now only provides 20% of that. The factory called Dead Sea Works, which pumps out seawater to harvest its salts and minerals, plays a role in this problem. Ginat's colleagues at Dead Sea and Arava Research Center, geologist Eli Raz, studied the sinkhole problem in depth, and they found that many of the craters developed along seismic fault lines in the Jordan Rift Valley. Inside these faults, the dissolved salts are less stable and more susceptible to invading fresh water, which allows the gaping holes. Now, the sinkholes were first noticed in 1970s, but have been forming more rapidly in recent years. The holes are dangerous for people who visit or live in the area, and while no one has been killed, the problem should be taken seriously. The sinkholes can reach up to 82 feet deep, that's 25 meters, and 131 feet, that's 40 meters in diameter. And nearby holes sometimes join to form giant holes. More than 4,000 sinkholes exist today, mostly on the sea's western shores, but there may be a way to stave off the Dead Sea's decline. Authorities proposed a canal that would run from the Red Sea to the Dead Sea, called the Red Sea-Dead Sea Conduit, which, in addition to providing water to the Jordan, Israel and Palestinian territories, would bring salt water back to the Dead Sea, and this way generate electricity to supply, of course, its own energy. Israel and Jordan approved the first stage of their project last month. And you can stop the sinkholes, Ginat said, but when people plan roads, building, and other infrastructure, they should take note of the research and choose where to put things based on the knowledge we have about these sinkholes. Other areas of the world are also home to puddling sinkholes. For instance, in Siberia, at least 7 giant craters have been found since 2014, which scientists believe to be the result of explosive release of methane gas from melting permafrost. Researchers have called for urgent investigation of the craters out of safety concerns. So the massive sinkholes opening in the Dead Sea, making it disappear at an alarming rate. It's losing vast amounts of water each year, and sinkholes have been emerging on the banks at alarming rates, as we said. Historically, the Dead Sea is a sacred place for many people the world over, as it is interwoven with many of the world's main religions. Thousands of these sinkholes are appearing and are growing exponentially. Multiple sources are reporting, and according to an article published on ABC News, there are more than 4,000 sinkholes on the Dead Sea, on the banks of the Dead Sea, and they're multiplying exponentially, according to environmentalists, as this body of water dries up. It's nature's revenge, said Gidon Bromberg. He's an Israeli director of Eco Peace Middle East, an organization that brings together Jordanian, Palestinian, and Israeli and environmentalists to protect the shared environmental heritage. They say these sinkholes are a direct result of the inappropriate mismanagement of water resources in the region. As we said, more than 1,400 feet below sea level, the Dead Sea is the lowest point on land. The first sinkhole spotted in the 1980s, and by 1990s, there were 40, and 15 years later, new chasms were breaking open every day. And they could develop overnight or over time, making them unpredictable and very dangerous. With salinity levels 10 times that of the Atlantic Ocean, the Dead Sea evaporating at a rate of nearly 4 feet a year, and large salt pockets are left behind as the water recedes. As groundwater dissolves the salt, washing it back into the Dead Sea, empty cavities develop, creating massive sinkholes. Bromberg explained that sinkholes develop in clusters, collapsing into each other and creating even larger craters. The big fear is that overnight the road will collapse. That is the Route 90, which runs along the Dead Sea. The portion of the Route 90 was closed for repairs after parts of the road sank some 2 inches. And Bromberg said the only way to halt the opening of the chasms is to stabilize the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea relies on the fresh water of the Jordan River, but only about 5% of the historic flow is currently flowing into the Dead Sea. Bromberg's organization argues that 30% of the historic flow would at least be a step in the right direction. If nothing is done, it's only a matter of time until someone dies, he said. This by Royce Christen on News Punch. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.